Welcome to Sports Talk. It has been, for lack of better words, a minute since Dwayne and myself have done a show on the channel to talk about sports. We kind of really wanted to do a lot of different stuff during the NFL preseason. I was doing the stuff with high school sports, doing the stuff with Wilkes College, but things took a different turn. Lives. We didn't do much. We didn't really do anything during the season. But it was a reason why we didn't do much during the season. It was a tumultuous season for all of our sports teams, which is interesting because as they say, it'd be like that sometime.
Mhm.
But honestly, we're happy to be back, happy to have this conversation, and ready to get this thing underway, man, and talk about pre-draft NFL talk. Um, a lot has been going on, a lot of interesting. We didn't want to do a show every time something going on, not because we didn't have nothing to talk about. It's just so much going on. It's every day. And shout out to the other content creators who can do a show 2 and 3 times a day sometimes. Um, Me, Dwayne, I know I can speak for him. When you do a show and you got a team that's so prominent to show that the team that we root for, the Dallas Cowboys, um, it's pretty hard to ever be bored because they push the algorithm on TV, they push the algorithm on social media, and it's just so much going on. But without further ado, man, Dwayne, what's going on, bro?
Hey, sometimes you got to reinvent yourself. So we have new logo, we have a new title, but we're the same old people, man. And in this day and age, man, how many times can you do a mock draft, right? Everybody does a mock draft. You got some people that's on mock draft 7.0. So we did a little draft. We did a little draft simulator today before we decided to come on. But as we all know that we're Dallas Cowboy fans, and that's the team we root for. That's the team we follow a lot. But we talk it all. We don't want to just get pigeonholed into just being quote unquote Dallas Cowboy guys, because the Lord knows there's enough of them out there doing that. But we're just gonna do what we've been doing since we were in sixth grade, man. Just
Let
two
me let me
friends
ask you,
talking.
let me ask you because I got some stuff to ask you. Um, you made a statement this week that I want to ask you to explain to the chat, to explain to anybody that may watch the show. You said the Cowboys have to get out of the philosophy of drafting to their coordinator and get back to drafting. Which way you explained it,
Well,
where most people may not understand it. Go ahead.
I get it, right? So I've been coaching football, on the youth level, but it's still football since 2003, right? So I'm not one of those coaches. Just a little insight. You'll get a youth coach, right? Or coaches. They'll get kids when they're coming in, at 7 years old. And as they move up with them, right? So the only coach on the youth level they get is the same guys, right? So they know the system. They know what their coach is expecting of them. I'm a big believer in I want to coach to my talent and make my talent adjust to my system. Because when you're just drafting for system and not quote unquote just overall talent, you get a situation like you get with the Dallas Cowboys, right? So Ron Marinelli is their defensive coordinator. So he's in control of what they're drafting. So they'll draft somebody like Taco Charlton because Marinelli believes in him, or Tristan Hill when he did that because he believed in him, right? And then you'll get a situation where DQ comes in, and we got players that we're drafting to fit his system. And DQ is gone. And so now you got Zimmer comes in. And the players that you drafted the year before don't fit his system. So then we go into the draft and we draft players to fit his system. Then he's gone, and now you got Eberflus. So, okay, we're going to go on the draft. Will McClay says we're going to go on the draft, and we're going to get the type of players that Eberflus needs to be successful with. Well, now Eberflus is only there for 1 year. And now you got Christian Parker. So now we're going to go in this draft, and we're going to draft players that fit the quote-unquote Christian Parker system. So you're not marrying drafts, right? Because now you got to go completely change your roster because you're not letting a coach come in and coach the talent to fit his system. You see what I'm saying? I think it should be a little bit of both.
And,
Like,
and, and, and excuse me for that. I had my head down. I had an emergency text that I had to make. But you're right. And I think, Dwayne, that has been the problem. I always mess with you when we talk about it. You know, the Cowboys draft fairly decent, but everybody says, oh, they're the team that draft and develop. I have an issue with their development because they develop guys that, like you said, the guys they draft are specific to a skill set. For example, a guy like Donovan Wilson. Donovan Wilson was only decent in DQ's system, or a guy that DQ brought in when he brought in the Curse Kid. Prime example, the Curse Kid is nowhere to be seen. He was a journeyman. It was a good story. Very good player in the league. Played for the league for a long time. Good story, but you're not drafting guys who you got to draft. And it's the craziest thing, and it shows that the organization needs more continuity, is because every draft you hear the draft guy for the Cowboys, the head of scouting, Will McClay, you hear him say one thing: we want to draft Power Five guys and guys that are multiple. Well, obviously these guys ain't as multiple well as you guys are telling us, and this has been my theme of this year. One of the things during the season, Wayne, is that till about week 9 or 10, I was still chasing Matt Eberflus. Matt Eberflus was a coach who I thought highly of. I thought highly of him as a linebacker coach. When he left Dallas, I was happy for him. And I realized that my optimism for Matt Eberflus was like, yo, this guy can't connect with these players. I don't know what happened. There was no connection there. And I don't know if I clearly don't think it's the game that passed him by. He just never was able to translate what he wanted to the players, from the players to get it in and do it on the field. So much so that I was defending. Then you had to explain to me, like, Q, sometimes you just got to look at the players. And that has been my biggest issue with the draft conversation all year long. This season has always been told, pre-draft season is always what we call lying season. Everybody's lying. Everybody's, smoke and mirrors. But for some reason, I haven't heard that talk out of the NFL people this year because everybody got their own story to sell. So with that, we've been hearing the Cowboys should move up, and I personally don't like us moving up. And the reason why is because, in my personal opinion, there is not one player that is worth moving up. And what I mean by that is there's not one player that's worth giving up a lot of draft capital to move up. Different scenarios we've seen where they can move up, trade 12, 20, and get a 2. If you can do that, I'm all for it because basically you don't lose a pick. I don't think the Cowboys are in a position to lose a pick without a player coming back for the pick. That 2-for-1 stuff, their roster, you beat it in my head. Just this is not good. But you did a mock draft, right? First
Well,
of all,
I just want to piggyback off that. Their roster from an offensive standpoint is excellent. But when you look at the Cowboys defense, there's only one position group that you could really hang your hat on, and that's the defensive tackles. And they traded Osa out of that, So the defensive tackles even have taken a hit. because now you got Kenny Clark and you have Quinnen, and then you got the big fella. I don't want to butcher his name, but the one that was playing for the Chargers. But you lose Solomon Thomas and you lose Osa, right? So you look at the Cowboys' defense last year, it's worse in the league. Statistically, your eyes don't lie to you. And when you looked at it, and why were they bad? They were terrible at linebacker, and they were terrible in the secondary. So now you got some changes coming in. You got Jalen Thompson, who I think was a great free agent signing. You got a PJ Locke, who I love, and I think is going to be an absolute steal, right? You get the two corners from the Rams, Durant and Kendrick. So do you really got to go crazy in your defensive secondary coming in at 12 and 20? Depending on how this board drops, and you'll see how it dropped in the mock that I did, the draft simulator that I did, I want to throw the majority of everything to defense, man. Like I don't know that you got to throw that offense. And in the simulator, I did pick up a offensive lineman that I'm intrigued by late. And I also, with the last pick, took a running back that I think could be a steal in this draft. Even though I'm taking him in the 7th round, I think he is that second back to a lead back, can catch the ball out the backfield, could do some really good things in the return game. So, I just think the Cowboys now, like people keep talking about trading up. If anything, I want to trade down, right? Because if you listen to the experts and you think about the experts, there are not many can't miss prospects in this draft. This draft is deep, man. You could get somebody in the 3rd round that could wind up being just as good as somebody that's in the 1st round. That's always the case, right? But I truly believe this is a deep draft. Now, I hear people say, and I'm open to everything. I watch. I do my own film. And I'm going to pat myself on the back for a little while. I watch enough football that I put what I see up against anybody. Anybody that's on YouTube, anybody that's on ESPN, I know what I see in this game of football. I love it. I have a passion for it. I've been a draftnik since I was 8 years old. The person I looked up to in this draft game, God rest his soul, was Dr. Z. Paul Zimmerman. It's my favorite. I'm a kid that at 8, 9 years old, when the draft used to be all day on a Saturday, I sat there with a spiral notebook charting the drafts. And I continue to do that to this day. So I put what I got to say. I don't think what I'm saying is any less valuable than the people that's on TV, the people that got big followings on YouTube. It's all opinions. We all have our opinions, right? So I just feel like the Cowboys have so much that they got to do on defense that I'm great with staying at 12, right? But if I see the draft is falling a certain way and somebody at 15 want to come up to get something and I got another player that 2, 3 players right there, I'm trading down. I get to 20 and the Bears want to come up for a receiver because they already lost DJ Moore, I'll go down to 25 and pick up some extra capital. So I'm in the business of this draft, trading down more than trading up, getting more players so I could throw as many players as I can to this horrendous defense. And I want to say this before we even go further, right? I hear all these content creators, especially Dallas Cowboys, the Christian Parker defense, the Christian Parker defense, Christian Parker defense. Okay, he's going to be our defensive coordinator, but he has not called defense yet, folks. If you want to say something, the Vince Fangio defense, that's going to be run by Christian Parker because he talked very well in his introductory press conference and what he wants to do. But it's yet to be seen how successful this young man's going to be because we haven't seen him call a defensive game yet.
Can I say one thing about that, Dwayne? Are we high on Christian Parker like we were high on Chris Richard?
I mean,
We were so happy with Chris Richard because he was the animated guy on the sideline, a black man.
I understand these content creators for the Cowboys. I heard one of them who I respect a lot, but I won't say his name, but I respect a lot. And his whole mentality is his job is to give the Dallas Cowboy fans hope. And that's good, but I want you to stay real. I want you to be real. And when we got Marinelli, oh, the Cowboys really got one now. They got Rod Marinelli, right? DQ did what he did. Man, 2 years ago, I was hearing how Mike Zimmer was going to get us back to where we needed to be. Last year was, Eberflus, man, he's a pro. He's been here before. We may not have a pass rush, but Eberflus he's gonna scheme us into a pass rush, right? They all sold us on it, right? On this hope that they talk about. But we're fans, man. I want realness. We're fans of the Cowboys, right? So I love the Dallas Cowboys, but I'm not blinded by blue and white colored glasses. It is what it is, what it is. You understand what I'm saying? So now we have Christian Parker, young man, mid-30s, has a very young staff around him. And I just keep hearing people saying, this guy's going to fit the Christian Parker defense. That guy's going to fit. What is the Christian Parker's defense? Is what we're assuming it to be, right? Because we don't know what his defense is going to be till they roll the ball, tee that ball up, and blow the whistle, right? So I just want people to realize that, like, Christian Parker, this guy fits Christian Parker's defense. It's Vic Fangio's defense, right? But this is going to be the Christian Parker version of it. So give me at least to week 2 before I say I know what the Christian Parker defense is. You kind of understand what I'm saying, Q?
Yeah. And the second gen notion, right, was the overhyping of Christian Parker, which we get it with optimism. We've been waiting over 30 years to win, and it's long overdue. And I always say the theory: every Cowboy fan is right in how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I want the Cowboy Nation to realize: as of right now, the sky is not falling with the linebacker depth, you guys. The sky is not falling. Dwayne had said something to me this week in reference to a player that a lot of people don't realize can basically play linebacker in the big nickel. I know usually big nickels is the nickel guy is usually bigger. No, sometimes the linebacker goes out and you may get a secondary player. And just in the words that I know me and Dwayne are not fans of this guy, but one of the greatest quarterbacks that ever played the game. Relax. Relax. I fully I know how people feel about the Joneses, but this is the one time where I'll take Steven's approach that roster building is 365 days a year, and we all know the Dallas Cowboys. They want to get bargain players, and they will wait till after the draft to do a little tinkering with their roster. Y'all know how they do. They always get a guy right before training camp. So
And I want to say this, right? And I believe in transparency. I can't stand Jerry Jones. I think he's all that's wrong with the Dallas Cowboys, right? So I want these content creators and I want some of these ESPN and Fox Sports and CBS Sports, when the Cowboys make a move and you guys start saying, oh, Jerry is cooking. Jerry's not doing it, folks. Stop it. You're leading people down a path that is wrong. This is Steven and this is Will McClay. You know how you know it? Because Steven will go on TV one day and say, oh, we ain't going to talk about that. We just going to handle our business. Roster development is 24/7, 365. And then the next day, his father will go on and just go deep into what the thought process is. So they're on the same page, but they're not on the same page. I want people to stop thinking Jerry is building this roster. He's not. He hasn't for a long time. Because if Jerry was building this roster, you would have had Johnny Manziel instead of Zach Martin, who was an all-pro guard for years and years and years. And you would have a lot of other things that's going on if Jerry was truly building this roster. So Let's get out of that mindset that Jerry's cooking. Jerry's not cooking. He's just the front.
And shout out, and I'm gonna say one person that files the tape. Shout out to Clarence Hill. Everybody call him because as a reporter, he's doing his job. His job is to report on the Cowboys. I know a lot of people don't like him because they feel like he's messy, but his job that's there is to put a microphone in front of Jerry's mouth when he's talking. He's not responsible for what Jerry says. This goes back to what Dwayne's saying. 2 years in a row, Clarence is the reporter that said, "Oh, we're going to bust the budget." That he reported that.
Mhm.
Jerry said it. It's not Clarence's fault. He reported that we're going all in. It's not Clarence's fault. He's there with a microphone. Clarence's job as a journalist is to chase down stories. He's not lying. Jerry's saying it. We hear the audio. As fans, we have to stop falling for the show.
Mhm.
The show is Jerry.
Think about it,
The
right?
meat and potatoes is Steven, Will McClay, uh, the guys that do the salary cap. Y'all know who the guys are.
Yeah.
I don't have to get into it.
I want people to really look at it, right? And they'll say, "Oh, the Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl. Oh, they haven't been in an NFC Championship." But there's no team that pushes the needle more than the Dallas Cowboys in any sport. We bring ratings, we bring talk. The Cowboys could be 3-12, and they're still going to lead every Monday news show.
And trust me, for us too, I know for a fact, and probably many Cowboy fans, it drives us bonkers
Drives me
when
nuts.
a story is being talked about in the Cowboys and they're not worth talking about.
No.
What's worth talking about, and why we decided to do the show today, was during the season, Dwayne and I, we live in two different areas. What we do is we watch the game and we talk on the phone.
Mhm.
But this is one of the one seasons, you guys, where when the Dallas Cowboys were playing defense, Dwayne would actually turn the channel.
Turn the channel. This is true.
That's how hideous, that's how bad this defense was. I remember week 3 or 4, I said to Dwayne, I said, yo, this defense might be as bad as Nolan's. Dwayne was like, nah, no, it ain't. Even though I switched to like it, wanting Flus to change, Dwayne was like, let it go, bro. They're never gonna. This is just when you describe the Dallas Cowboys defense of the 2025 season.
Mhm.
Not only was it bad, it was literally laughable. You had players that we believe weren't washed up that just were bad.
Mhm.
You had guys that they took flyers on Elam, a guy like that. Now we know words were said about him in Buffalo, but he looked it bad. They had communication problems where they dummied it down. We seen them dummy it down, and they were still having communication problems. So let's hope that Evilfuss not being there. Let's hope that it's a new culture. Let's hope that Christian Parker, he's hired some very interesting coaches, I believe, from a teaching standpoint. But let's hope that the players take to are able to translate the classroom to that field, and that's important because a lot of players can't do that. A lot of players don't connect. A lot of players can hear what coach is saying, agree with what coach, can identify it in film, but it may not translate on the field.
Yeah. Yeah. So, this is my favorite time of the year, with the draft coming up. And it's especially special this year. Where our hometown is Union, New Jersey. And we got a hometown boy who was in town today at the high school working out. Took some pictures and everything like that. Ohio State cornerback David Davidson Igbinosun, who may become the highest, more than likely will become the highest drafted player in the history of our illustrious high school, which is known as a football powerhouse, Union, New Jersey, the Farmers. Look it up. And so I'm excited about him. And, you know, I'm biased. I love the kid. Seen him since youth football all the way up. He's been a starter. Like, this is one thing I will say about Davison Igbinosun, and everybody has their opinions about him, but I'll tell you this: when he stepped on the scene at Union High School as a sophomore, started every game his sophomore season, which wound up being the championship season. Started every game of his junior season, which was shortened. It was COVID. Started every game of his senior season and was going to get another championship before a superintendent made a boneheaded decision and ended our season before the semifinal of the playoffs. So he could have been a two-time champion. Went to Ole Miss, started as a true freshman. Every game he played in, he started. Went to Ohio State, and he started at Ohio State. So if you look at his career, he's a starter. He's not somebody that's just standing on the sidelines. From high school all through college, he has 74 college starts at corner. At Ole Miss, at Ohio State, national champion, been in the college football playoffs, 6'2", 195 pounds. Does he have some things that he needs to work on? Yeah, his hips, turning and running with the wide receiver, being careful with the contact down the field. He did have 16 penalties as a junior, and he cut those to 4 his senior year. Very solid in the run game, So he's projected right now to go in the 3rd round. I hope he sneaks in the 2nd round. I mean, you can't teach 6'2", 195 with a 4.4 40. Can't teach it. So there is the misnomer out there. There are some that have said, he came under Matt Patricia last year, became the defense coordinator at Ohio State. And there was a rumor out there. I know Dane Bugler had it in the Beast. It was in a couple other places where they said that Patricia put oven mitts on him in practice this year so that he wouldn't use his hands. The kid himself says that's cap. But let's just think about that, right? Let's say it is true. That shows me somebody that's coachable, right? Patricia's an NFL coordinator. So this NFL coordinator has helped this kid limit his pass interference his senior year. And if you just look at his one-on-one ratio, listen, I can go on and on. I love the kid. But we'll go into, like I said, I did a draft simulator online. This is just a simulator. So I just went as the Dallas Cowboys, no trades. I did no trades, all 7 rounds. And Q's going to put it up, and we'll see what I did.
What's funny about Igbinosun, right? And I know Dwayne, you guys hate player comps. He is the one person I know. Do not compare one player to another. Do not compare a player from an era to another. And I'm going to say something about Igbinosun because Dwayne, we went to a game during our reunion. We had our class reunion. I went to that game, and it was another game that I went to where Dwayne told me this kid as a sophomore that he was going to be playing on Sundays. And I watched him, and I watched his attitude. I watched his mannerisms with his teammates, with other players, right? And as Dwayne was talking, I thought about a player that I seen years ago that he reminds me so much of because of his stature and his long arms.
And
And
he's
and it
5. He's a 4.25 grade point average.
and he reminds me of this player so much because this player coming out as Davison, has all the tools. I love physical corners. I know it's a lot of great corners. Like my favorite cornerback ever was Dion. Dion, he could play physical, but that wasn't his strength. Some corners will what they call beat you up at the line of scrimmage. Those are the type of guys that I love. Davison reminds me of this player, and Dwayne will get on me when I say it.
No, I think I know. Can I say it, and then you can tell me if I'm right or wrong?
Yes.
I think you're going to compare him to Richard Sherman.
He's Richard Sherman, but he's a little shorter.
Mm-hmm.
And he reminds me of Richard Sherman, Antonio Cromartie Jr.
Okay.
because he got that frame and he's got that physical. One thing Davidson, I'm going to say, and it goes for all the players in the NFL. And we always talk about, what it ain't. Don't make a difference what round you go.
Hmm?
When you get there, you make a lasting opinion. And we all know, I want a player to go here to be drafted here because I want him to be coached this. I'm going to say something about Davidson Igbinosa. If he gets coached by a secondary coach that teaches physical corners, that wants corners physical, the sky is the limit for this kid. I mean, I'm not bragging, but I know what I saw with my eyes. Like, them physical corners, and sometimes you may have the physical corner on one corner, and then the other edge corner is the finesse corner. And they work well together. Because that year that Cromartie and Revis was together, they were a problem. And it's like, I can just imagine Davidson Espinosa getting drafted by the right team. And it will be very interesting him playing. I,
It's funny to
I
hear
got
you
you
talk, right?
smiling.
It's funny to hear you talk when you're saying, you just want to get there, right? Whether you're a seventh round pick, you're a first round pick. Look, Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. Now look at the contract that brother signed, right? So I laugh because, I'm a youth football coach, man, and you'll sit there and, when the season first starts and you got the kids in the t-shirt and the shorts and you're like, man, that Baker kid, man, he look like he gonna be something. Then you put them pads on, boy, and you see the Baker kid looked a lot different when the pads went on than it. He was a Zach Wilson. He looked one way in that t-shirt and shorts, but when you put the pads on, he ain't look like that. He turned into a
Yeah,
player, right?
yeah.
So I've been doing this a long time. So I've seen kids and I've been like, man, I can't wait till that kid get to the high school level, man. He ripping it up down here. Wait till he gets to the high school level. He gets to the high school level and he reached his peak. He didn't perform in the high school level. He was just a regular guy, right? So then you get this high school kid. He's 5-star. Oh, this kid, he's everything, man. He dominant, man. He gonna go to college. He gonna be the man at college. Get to college, and he transfers 3 times because he can't get what you thought he was gonna be, what he was in high school or college, right? So then we get these college guys, man. He's a first rounder, man. He's a can't miss. You'll have people that comparing college kids going into the draft to gold jacket guys. How dare
Yeah,
you? You
yeah.
should
How dare you?
not compare
How
any
dare you?
prospect that's going to get drafted to a gold jacket guy. No,
Yeah.
no, you should not be doing that because guess what? We've seen, and I do not use the word that people want to put on people, right? Kwame Brown had to live with his whole life with that word that people want to put on him. Jamarcus Russell had to be that word. I hate that word. Don't you put that word. These guys are 1%ers. If you're getting drafted, if you make it in the league, you're a 1%er.
And Kwame Brown, I don't know if Jamarcus Russell might be, and
Yeah,
Kwame Brown collects a pension from the NFL.
right.
He played 12 years in the league. It's amazing the expectation. And when we were having our conversation earlier, was like the deep part about it all is at the end of the day, you guys, this is a job interview that these kids are going to have next Thursday.
Yeah.
It's going to be all right. It's a,
Some of them,
after Thursday, and then the post draft signings, all of that combine stuff, and whether a guy didn't run, and
absolutely.
how McCoy showed out and showed up during his pro day, and the naysayers, this was all talk.
Let
And it's sad because what's going to happen, and I'm glad, I'm going to try to segue into this, Dwayne. What's really sad is that this year might be the one year that the guys with the personal issue flags may really hurt. Unfortunately, we had a player last year that had some red flags. Atlanta gave away that first round pick to move up and get the kid. And there's a possibility we'll never see the kid ever play in the NFL again.
So we got to be careful, right? This is and this is going to segue because we got time tonight. I hope you ain't put
yeah. We good. We
time
good.
limit on me, man. But you know, we this you learn you let me see this. It's sort of like when they're voting for the Hall of Fame, right? So you get these guys and they haven't played a snap in 5 years. And the first year they can't get in, but the second year they get in. Their film ain't changed. Their stats didn't change, right? So you come into a draft cycle, and for me, for my money, I'm still going to say this. For my money, Caleb Downs is the best player in this draft. He's my number one rated player in this draft, right?
Why?
At the start of this draft cycle, right? And I'm going to get to my whys, but at the start of this draft cycle, you heard everybody
Oh, he
talk.
had a bad meniscus.
Well, no, you heard everybody talking about how Caleb Downs is that dude, right? But he plays safety. Caleb Downs is that dude. Now, we're 2 weeks away from the draft, and you got some people saying he ain't the top rated safety. Well, wait a minute. What happened from the end of his season to now? His pro day numbers was great. Like, what happened? Now it's when you really look at his film, Thieneman from Oregon has more splash plays. The kid for Toledo got more splash plays. Well, let me tell you something. Just like I talked about Davison Igbinosun, Caleb Downs started every game at the University of Alabama for Nick Saban. And went in the playoff game, they lost to Michigan, but he was the best defensive player on the field for Alabama. Saban leaves.
All-American as a freshman.
Right. Saban leaves. He goes to Ohio State. Right? And for the last 2 years, you know, Sonny Styles, Averill Reese, they'll probably go ahead of him in 2 weeks. But every game he played, he was better than those two. He could play in the box. He could do coverage. He comes up and run support. He does it all. Oh, but he's 6 foot. Oh, he may not be the fastest. Turn the film on. Listen, I'm tired of some of you guys, and I'm pointing to you because you don't watch college football until you find out who's in the draft. Then you watch a highlight cut-ups. Some of you Dallas Cowboy content creators had the audacity to have Cowboy fans thinking Maris Leofau was good. And if you watch full games of him at Notre Dame, yeah, hair flying out the back of his head like Troy Polamalu, all over the field, getting there and not finishing, ever. And so what is he doing as a Dallas Cowboy? Hair all over the place, getting there, not finishing, right? My boy, my favorite content creator, Foots the King, right? Love that dude. Don't always agree with him, but love him. He went on and on about how great Maris Leofau was. And then he had to come to the realization last year, oh man, Maris, he's not as good as I thought. He can't tackle. Well, that's the same Maris we saw at Notre Dame. And now none of y'all say nothing about Maris in the Christian Parker defense.
He's an outside linebacker now.
Other than the fact they moving him to outside linebacker.
An edge guy, as CP said.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
And most people don't realize, and the reason why we say, Dwayne always said it, the reason why, if you notice, he doesn't try to tackle. He tries to grab you from the side or the back and punch the ball out. So he's trying to force fumbles before he makes a tackle. You have a lot of players like that who they can cause turnovers, but they don't make the tackle, complete the tackle. And it could be coached out of them. It's going to be hard. But like Dwayne said, we fall in love with what we see sometimes, and it don't be really the reality. Like Dwayne said, everybody said with Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs takes the best angles. Angles are important as a safety. On his tackling, his reading, the radar, playing center field, as most of you guys say, he closes the roof when
Let
he's
me
back there.
let me say this too, right? I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret. I don't usually like to promote things when we're on this show, right? Not now, not now. I told everybody what I'm doing today. Not now, not now. So I don't normally like to promote things, right? Quinn, for who was the two players I spent the most time talking about today so far?
Dwayne is a Michigan fan. For him to even speak highly of any player from
I
Ohio State
was in
is
that
big.
scarlet and gray. I hate them. Okay, I hate them. But Davis is my guy. He's the hometown guy. And Quentin Ford will tell you my favorite position to break down in the NFL. And this young lady is nice, y'all, but she gotta let me go. It's football. My favorite position in the NFL to watch is corners and DBs, right? So I love it. And so to me, it's kind of odd as a Cowboy fan sitting at 12. You're telling me Caleb Downs is gonna fall to me? Thank you. Please.
So let me ask you
Simulated.
before before we no. You're not getting a stimulator first. I'm
Fuck.
giving you something that you gave me a while ago. We're gonna look at this first. You threw this at me. We're gonna talk about these guys first.
Okay.
Dwayne threw this at me a while ago of these sleepers in the draft. So, do you want to reiterate on these these guys that
Well,
you
listen,
mentioned?
I feel pretty good about that running back that everybody loves all of a sudden. Okay. Everybody loves him. You know, he was good before the season he put up, right? I'm a big Nicholas Singleton fan from Penn State. Now you look at my Jordan Tyson. He's up there now. Now he's gonna go first round. This is from before. I want to give everybody insight. This is what I gave Q was before a down of college football was played in 2025. These is guys that I love, right? So you look at Love speaks for itself. Singleton, did Penn State have a great year? No, but guess what? Somebody get Nicholas Singleton in the fourth, fifth round, and then it's going to be, where does this kid come from? Why he last that long, right? Jordan Tyson, he is who he is, right? Surratt speaks for itself. Big time player at James Madison, did it at Indiana, won a national championship. He is a solid number 2 receiver in the NFL. A lot of people don't believe it. They don't think he could do X, Y, and Z. All I'm going to say is put his film on, right? Not no highlight cut-ups. Go watch complete games and see what that young man does in the game at James Madison. And then it was like, he ain't going to do at Indiana what he did at James Madison. And he did. Now, people will tell you that Cooper's better than him. I'm taking him over Cooper. Okay, I ain't talking about measurables. And I'm talking about actually playing the damn game. Okay, and what he does in the game. My favorite quarterback in this draft still is Garrett Nussmeier. Is he going to go in the first round? No. Mendoza's going to go. Ty Simpson's going to go. But let me tell you right here and right now, on April 11th at 7:33 Eastern Time, somebody's going to get a hell of a quarterback in Nussmeier. He's going to equate to being a much better NFL quarterback than he ever was in college. And I hope, beyond hope, somehow that team with the star on their helmet draft his ass in like the fourth round and just stash him there under Dak. And then he's my franchise quarterback going forward. Father is a great NFL. I don't want to use the word great as overhyped, but his father's been in the NFL as a quarterback coach for a long time. Also was an offensive coordinator. So I love him, right? Defensively, Peter Woods, still love this young man. Some say he's not going to go in the first round. He may go in the second, whatever. LT Overton, look him up, man. Like, what are we talking about that nobody's talking about LT Overton right now? In the career he's had at Alabama. I love Muhammad and I love Taft at Texas. And then my boy
No,
Jared
and that was one of the things.
went back. He went back to Michigan. So will tell you this was before the season. He went back to Michigan. I'm glad he went back to Michigan.
And that you mentioned Muhammad and Taft, and this is what a lot of the Cowboy fans listen. I get it. I get it. Content creators, we chase for the story sometimes, but one thing we got to understand is that just because you're a 30 visit in Dallas doesn't mean they're going to draft you. And if you're not a 30 visit in Dallas, doesn't mean they like to get to know their guys. They like to put their hands on guys. They do what they call Dallas Day.
Yeah, but
So Dallas Day and their 30 are two different things.
but the Cowboys don't bring people in for 30s unless they're very interested in them.
Yeah.
But when you got Bobby Belt saying there's no way the Dallas Cowboys would take Jermon McCoy at 12, no, he's wrong. And I know he's an insider and all that. If there was no way that the Dallas Cowboys would consider him at 12, they wouldn't be bringing him in for a 30. Now, his argument with that would be, well, they won't take him at 12, but they're going to take him at 20. If injury is an issue, if injury is truly an issue, if you're not going to take him at 12, if you're not going to take him at 12, then you ain't taking him at 20. And I don't believe they're not taking him. This guy was CB1. If you look at his 2024 tape, unfortunately, he had the injury. He missed all of last year. I like Delane, but McCoy is just as good if he's healthy, maybe even a tad bit better. So, again, we all have opinions, but we don't truly know what is the thinking of these teams. And if we're being real honest, and this is something that I say to Quentin Ford all the time, the Cowboys do their best work when nobody knows what they're thinking of doing. That's when they make their best moves. So I love it, man. I love it. Nobody's wrong, right? It's just all opinions. And then, one of the things that I laugh at, right? It has become something that's really big when you look at the NFL, when they do the let's redraft the 2020
Yeah.
draft
Yeah.
that we know. What are you doing that for? Like, that is the most biggest waste of content. Hindsight. We're gonna read
Because Dwayne, when you say that, the funniest thing is that we heard, according to reports, and I remember this draft so much, that 2021 draft, right? Everybody was talking about everybody's going to trade up to get Mac Jones, right? You guys, Mac Jones gets drafted by New England. He didn't fare well in New England, right? He goes to the 49ers, a team that everybody said he wanted, but the 49ers basically gave up their draft for Trey Lance. Double back, they get Mac Jones, and Mac Jones did actually well enough where a lot of teams probably called the 49ers for the call, and you can always redraft guys. And this is, listen, I respect the scouts. I respect these guys that do this. Everybody in this field is hard, but one of the things that I push back on is to say that, I only got 15 first round grades.
Mhm.
It's 32
Oh,
first round players.
I'm so glad you said that, because I meant to say that earlier, man. That is the most disrespectful thing I ever heard. Oh, there's only 15 players that got a first round grade. How's that possible when there's 32 picks in the first round? There's going to be 32 players that have a first round grade. Why? Because there's 32 selections in the first round. Cut that out, man.
And even so, and listen, this is not a shot at you guys that do it, but I think a lot of guys that do it are following guys that do it. They're not thinking on their own. And respectfully, they're speaking from a place like, well, I don't have him on my board. I don't have him as Brian Brothers uses the word stack. So I use the word stack. Oh, he's not in my stack in the first round. He's in your stack as the first round. For example, me and Dwayne, the Cowboys need everything on defense except defensive tackle, right? So if they draft a guy that may be a linebacker who somebody said was an early two, if they got to draft him, if he's there and that's who he's on their board as their best player to get in that position at that time, get him.
There's a lot of Cowboy content creators that love Jacob Rodriguez, right? I wouldn't take him at 20. But if the Cowboys do, that's where they had him rated. And can we stop saying people that's on YouTube, and I love YouTubers, we're on YouTube right now too, but I want you guys to stop saying teams don't know how to draft. Do you realize how disrespectful that is to that profession? to the scouts.
It's a crapshoot anyway.
The draft is definitely a crapshoot. But we need to stop saying teams don't know how to draft. According to who? According to you? Like you never missed on players that you projected to be a certain way?
You got a team. You got a team that has only been around for not even 30 years. Probably their 30-year anniversary is coming up, right? Who everybody says that they do great in the draft every year. They just know how to do it. They just get it done. Granted, the team that we root for having won the Super Bowl. But everybody says this about the Ravens. They just know what they're doing. Ozzie knocks it out the park, gets it done every time. They've only won 2 Super Bowls. Now, those 2 Super Bowls are nothing to not be proud of. That organization is a good organization, but drafting is a crapshoot based off of the guys that fit your need, whether they're going to fan out, whether they're going to grow, whether they're going to develop into the player that you see. Because you can draft a guy like Dwayne said. Everybody could have got Purdy. Every team in the league could have got Purdy 7 times.
Every
He
team in the
chose
league
not
could
to.
have got Tom Brady. Chose not to.
Yeah.
So are all those teams that didn't draft Purdy or that didn't draft Tom Brady, are they bad at drafting? And who is making the determination? Like we run, like as soon as the draft is over, the next day, we're putting grades on first round draft picks that have not played a down in the NFL yet. Oh, he gets a D. Oh, he gets an A. Oh, he gets a B. How? How? You can't truly grade it until the end of the season, right? So what we're seeing, and then we want to put that B word on everybody. Oh, he was a B. Oh, he was a B. This one was a B. Okay. What are you a B in? What are you a bust in your life? Right? And I know this is the nature of the beast, right? Speaking of the beast, shout out to Dan Bugler. He's the best in the business, man. I love looking at the beast. It's must read. Dan Bugler, best in the business. Salute to you, sir. Appreciate you. And yeah, man, we're gonna be there. Draft day. Tap into sports talk. We're gonna be there. Every pick. We're gonna have those reactions. You know, some of them be viral. We won't be Sky and Foots and Vach when Luke Schoonmaker got drafted and y'all had that viral moment. Let me tell you something, right? Is he flashy? No, he's not flashy. But guess what? He's solid. He plays in every game for the Dallas Cowboys. Y'all looking for him to catch passes and do all that. Watch him at Michigan. That's not what he did. He's another damn lineman, for the most part, that can get in the passing game every once in a while and catch a ball, right? Now y'all talking about, is he undervalued? Can we trade him and get good for him? What did Luke Schoonmaker do that was bad last year, Cowboy content creators? What did he do? Look at some of them Javonte Williams runs where he was running.
And in all actuality, we overrate, and we talked about this with Jalen Tolbert, and a lot of people don't realize it. What is the third option supposed to do? Let's look at Luke Schoonmaker. Luke Schoonmaker in this offense is the 6th option.
Don't tell him nothing.
6th option might catch 20 passes a year.
Don't tell him nothing.
20 catches a year.
Let's get into this mock simulator.
So you did a mock simulator. You sent me right before the show.
Yep, I did it this
And this is what you did. First picks, huh?
Yeah.
So at number 12, Caleb Downs, you feel as though that he slipped according to what everybody said, and the Cowboys drafted him. And then at number 20, you have Kendrick Folk. And Dwayne, let everybody in the chat know this is something that Dave Hallman said about Caleb Downs and Kendrick Folk. You called me immediately and said, and played it. How would you feel just with those 2 players in the first round?
David Hallman. Damn you, sir. Damn you. All right. I was minding my business, David Hallman. And you came on that show on 105.3. And you said the first thing I'm doing is trading 92 for Jordan Brooks. Damn it, I want to do that yesterday. And then you said you was drafting Caleb Downs and Keldrick Falk. And, sir, you are so much in my wheelhouse because those are my two favorite players in the draft. Okay? People got stuff to say about a 20-year-old Keldrick Falk, right? Oh, he's this, he's that. I'll tell you something that I heard Todd McShay say, and I agree with Todd McShay. Watch him play football. He plays his ass off. His effort. This young man is 20 years old. 20. He's like clay that you could mold into whatever you want, man. And he could play up and down the defensive line. So I got an A for that. Got an A for Kendrick Falk. 92, if Davidson Igbinosun is there at 92, boy.
So let me ask you, at 92, you chose to go with Davidson instead of grabbing your linebacker if they don't trade Brooks, or you still going to stay with Davidson?
I'm staying with Davidson, whether it's a linebacker or not. All right? At 112, they still had one of my favorite players in this draft, right? And they gave me a B+, and the feedback on the B+ is I doubled up on safeties.
Let me ask you.
Watley is going to be a solid NFL rookie, no matter what.
Unfortunately, today we found out about the unfortunate arrest of Marquise Bell. Yeah, so was that into your thinking? We're getting Wheatley there?
No, not at all. Because Marquise Bell is a Jersey kid, and I love him. But if you look at what the Dallas Cowboys did at safety with Locke and Thompson and Reeson and Hooker, where's Marquise Bell playing other than special teams? It's just the truth. It's just the truth. Now, because he did this, he's a cut. He's a candidate for cut. He's gonna get cut. But where was he playing? So then, I love this linebacker at 152, and I'm not alone because they gave him an A+ grade. This kid hits everything moving. He could drop. If you do listen to Christian Parker, he talks about how he wants versatility. Elliott gives you that. So if I'm in the Cowboy war room and I get these 5 players that you see right here, break open the dome. Break it open. So if you look at the next page, the last 3, Mr. Word is a raw offensive tackle, right? But you can't teach that size. You can't teach his feet, right? Is his hands good? Is he always good on the punch? No. But if I got this offensive line coach that the Cowboys got, I think you could teach that. Very underrated corner for me. It's a corner from California.
Hold on, Wayne. And also, the Cowboys offensive line coach was his coach at Oregon.
Well, no. The Cowboys wide receiver coach was at Oregon.
Wide receiver.
Offensive line coach was at Kansas State. But this kid, he didn't start at Oregon. You know, he transferred there. He was at a little bit of a smaller school, right?
Okay.
But, I mean, you just can't teach the size that this young man has. You just can't teach it, you know? And like I said, I like his footwork. I think there's some things that he could do a little bit better. But just give me a second real quick. I'm sorry.
So then you brought up Hezekiah Massis.
Hold on 1 second before I even get to him, because I'm usually more ready for stuff like this. But Isaiah World, right? I just want to give you these measurables for this young man. He's 6'8", 318 pounds. He's a man. That's what I'm saying. And he ain't even get the, as Voch Lombardi says, the NFL peanut butter in him yet. He hasn't gotten that, but I'm defense, defense, defense. But if I can get him at a pick 177, and you look, even this simulator that I use gave that an A+, right? So, I like him. As far as this corner from California, raw, got some things he has to work on. 6'1". I like a 6'1", 6'2" corner. 180. He's more of a zone type corner than a press man. I think he needs a little bit of work in the press man, but he could definitely play that zone type. He knows how to do his area. And I think the last pick that I have for the Dallas Cowboys.
Before you get there, before you get to Kalen Black, right? Um, Last year we drafted a running back out of Texas, and listen, Cowboy content creators, we don't come at other content creators. We don't believe in that. We don't believe in trying to come up off of their content by going back at them and trying to get caught up in their algorithm, which I call swagger jacking, and breaking down their show. I like all you guys because all you guys are unique. Y'all different. Some days I'll tell Dwayne, and I'll just use Foots for an example, right?
Love him.
Sometimes I'll tell
My
Dwayne,
favorite.
Foots get on my nerves. And then the next day I'll watch something that Foots said and I'll start smiling. That's just how it is.
Foots is
But
my
one of the
favorite,
things,
man. Shout out to Foots the King, man. You football coach in the DMV. He's doing big things now. He's got a lot of big ones. That Jordan Reed was real big. Foots. I don't know if you see this, but I'm just gonna put it out there for you. Maybe Q will tag you or what have you. There's 3 Cowboy content creators that I got onto during COVID, right? COVID is when I really became into this YouTube space and seeing content creators for my favorite team. The first person I ever saw, ever, that came up in my algorithm was Foots the King. And I've been rocking with him ever since, man. And sometimes he responds to me on X, sometimes he don't. I don't take it personal. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. When he's breaking down live games on X, we've had some back and forth conversations, and we've had some very good ones. I respect the man. He's younger than me, so I'm gonna say I respect the young man. But Foots, being a fan of him, then next was Skywalker Still, because I saw him and Foots do a show together. So then I jumped on Skywalker, and I love that brother. There's nobody that produces content better on YouTube than Skywalker Still. Nobody.
the guy should work at a network as a
Yeah, he
producer.
should be on network TV. He should be producing or sports radio, whatever. Skywalker Still, salute to you, man. You the best. Your production game is second to none. And then of course the third person, Mr. Personality, who's made it big, man. Went off that YouTube. Now he's on .com. He's working on Crown Mobile with Brian Brodus, and that's
Crown Global. Crown
Crown
Global.
Global, Mobile, whatever it's called. And that's Vach. That's Vach Lombardi. Vach is Vach, man. You can have whatever you like.
Yeah,
And
hey Vach, man,
I'll put
that
that
2020 season, Vach, I was driving back from New York, upstate New York, and me and Dwayne was on the phone for 2 hours, and we both had you listening. I was in the car listening to YouTube, and the day that we signed Gerald McClain and Poe, and you played that, you could have whatever you like. That whole show, and me and Dwayne was laughing so hard on the phone for 2 hours.
yeah,
We
man.
listened to that show, and you kept saying you could have whatever you like, vouch. So
There's
like
others.
Dwayne,
There's
like
others.
Dwayne, and it's a lot of others. It's guys that do incredible work. Okoye, my guy from the same state. I live up northeast. He down southeast. Sky is originally from Harrisburg. He's back home. But the funniest thing, and why I brought up the content creators, right? Because last year when we do the draft show, we have very interesting reactions. Like you guys that do the draft show, Law Nation, you guys been doing it for years. And Mark Holmes, shout out to you too, right? But We drafted a running back. The Cowboys drafted a running back last year out of Texas. And we had our TVs in the background and we listened to the same network. So when they drafted Jaden Blue, me and Dwayne's reaction when they talked about his top uh, things he needs to work on was ball security. And me and Dwayne laughed. Not laughed at the kid. We laughed because that is one of the worst qualities that you want in a running back. Not that he's a bad kid, not that he didn't play. He's an explosive, young, small running back. But I was so amazed that everybody was so happy we got the kid, but they kept glossing over that he had a running back issue. And it showed up in the Denver game. But I mean, he had a fumbling issue. So understand that a guy like Shotty, these coaches, when the coach don't give you your opportunity to play, it's a reason why they're not giving you an opportunity to play.
Q, what's the first thing I said to you when we drafted Jalen Blue?
He's always been
I said you got speed. He's always
been part of the committee. He's never been the feature.
Never been the feature. And another thing I said is, yeah, he got speed. He get in the open field. He may not get caught. But when he gets tackled, there's a 50-50 chance if he going to hold on to the ball or not. The brother can't take hits, man.
And that, for NFL running back, and you heard it during the year, he wasn't mature. He wore these cleats that gave him blisters. A whole bunch of, and this is not to thrash Jadon Blue, but the number one quality that employs a running back, if you want to see running back 101, knowing his job, look at what Williams did this year in pass pro. Forget all the yards that Williams did last year. Forget all the stuff. Look at his pass pro. And this is the biggest step for college running backs, learning how to protect your quarterback, being a good pass pro running back. So just know that, before we get to Kalon Black, man, out of Indiana, we all seen him. I saw him in the championship game. I'm going to say that's a very interesting pick. I see why they gave you an A+ for this pick. He's tough. He's good.
Just look, Indiana had that two-headed monster at running back. He was part of that, man. And he could do a lot in the run game. He could do a lot in the pass game. So, yeah, man. So enough with the draft talk, man. Let's go around.
Okay. No. I got one more thing Cowboy related. Okay. And you didn't fall right into my trap. Because I would never want to bring on a show. Like, one thing most people don't realize is that our shows literally are our phone conversations. Mm-hmm. They're just being recorded. Me and Dwayne have been talking sports since 6th grade.
That's right.
Dwayne actually, I tell everybody this, that I had two favorite coaches in all the coaches. I love Bill Parcells. I love Jimmy. But my two favorite coaches in all the sports were two men. One of them is no longer with us, and is Daddy Rich. That's my second favorite coach. And the other favorite coach, Dwayne, as a young man, told me to buy his book when we actually played junior high school basketball together, Dwayne and I. But Dwayne had told me about this coach, and like I said, we talked sports since 6th grade. But Dwayne had told me to buy this book, and I have it somewhere in here. And it's called not Winning Time, The Winner Within. And it's by Pat Riley. Pat Riley is my favorite coach of all time. And this is why I want to bring this up to Dwayne. So as you guys know, you saw Dwayne's mock draft. And I questioned him about drafting just one linebacker. There's been many people saying we should go get Brooks. I think every Cowboy fan, content creator that we know have said that Brooks is worth that third pick, that 92 pick. But Dwayne, you mentioned the player that we have on our roster that can play linebacker sparingly. Mm-hmm. We got to, as Cowboy fans, I don't think the book is closed on Shamar James. I think everybody in Cowboy Nation is forgetting Shamar James played pretty decent last year in that hideous defense. And being able to run, which he's very fast, and hit and tackle is
Mm,
all he's going to be required and asked to do in this type of defense. One of the things that the Fangio Christian Parker defense does is they rely on pressure up the middle and they rely on their safeties being multiple. But Dwayne, you mentioned the player, and you may feel like I'm putting you on blast, brother. You mentioned the player, Mr. Locke. Explain to me this player.
um, I think PJ Locke, and you want to say bold prediction or whatever. I think he's going to be the steal of the Dallas Cowboys free agent haul this offseason. His versatility. He could play down in the box. He could play in the box, folks. You know, the Broncos blitzed him a lot. If you go look at the tape, you know, what I said to Q is in pure passing downs, right? You can see where he's lined up to his next to his former Longhorn teammate, Overshawn, where they're both in the middle of the field. So let's just play this game. Cowboys get Caleb Downs at 12, right? You can, in essence, have times where the Cowboys can have 4 safeties on the field at the same time. Thompson, Hooker in the back end, Downs as a big nickel, and Locke as a linebacker with Overshawn.
When
Because
you
one,
when you
because one thing I know about PJ Locke, when he hits you, you stop.
when you mentioned it to me and you sent me the highlights, right? I literally thought you were crazy.
Thank you.
And not clinically crazy. I said, what is Dwayne talking about? So I looked at his measurables. His measurables are small linebacker-esque. But what really sold me on it is I looked at a couple Eagle highlights. And I noticed a lot of things that Fangio did. Most people think that Fangio played Jahad Campbell. Jahad Campbell got hurt last year, you guys.
Mhm.
He didn't play a lot. If you know anything about N'Kobe Dean has been hurt, but N'Kobe Dean is very small. And
Mhm.
what they would do with N'Kobe Dean, and this is why you get the best out of your roster, what they would do with N'Kobe Dean, they would blitz him right up the A gap
Mhm.
a lot of times. So I say that for the people that feel like that about Shamar James, how do we know Shamar James can't play the N'Kobe Dean role? And if, like I said, I looked at the Eagles after you told me to look at PJ Locke. I looked at some of the things that they were doing, and a lot of times, whether people realize it or not, if you look at the Eagles, you would see Big 53 Braun right there, who's an all pro, but let's be honest, the Eagles got him to be a special team guy, right? He's an all pro. They would put him right behind the big tackles.
Mhm.
And they would have on his right, it would be Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean was a multiple player in this defense. What I mean by multiple player, he would line up at corner, safety, linebacker. And on his left would be N'Kobe Dean. So a lot of times you saw it and you keep watching film, even when N'Kobe Dean or Jahad Campbell wasn't in the game, they would literally be playing dime. But you
Mhm.
wouldn't know they were in dime because a lot of times we assume
Put that
the
first page
the,
of that mock
the
back.
offense, the draft page.
Yeah, put the first page back
A
up.
lot of times we think that the offense dictates the defensive personnel. In the Vic Fangio defense, the defense dictates what they want to do. They don't worry about what the offense personnel wise want to do. So we just
And
got to be mindful of that and
we
not.
gotta say Vic Fangio defense. We gotta say Vic Fangio defense. And just one more thing before I move on. Quentin was talking about the book, The Winner Within, right? It's a great book. The greatest sports book that I've ever read in my life. It's a New York Times bestseller. And this is the book I thought Quentin was going to mention because I mentioned to him before. If you love sports and you love coaches, read. And I got this as a gift from a manager. I worked for Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Before that, I worked for a company called Sports Ticker, which was a division of ESPN. But I got a book as a Christmas gift from a manager that know I love sports and know I love coaches. And it's a New Jersey native. The name of the book is When Pride Still Mattered. It's about Vince Lombardi. You read that book as a sports fan, and I'm telling you, you will not regret it. You will
And you
not.
guys in the chat, we have Dwayne mentioned some stuff in the beginning of the show, and he mentioned Coach just now. We always took pride as Cowboy fans growing up. Our high school coach played for the great Vince Lombardi,
It was a great.
and he played for the Dallas Cowboys too. And he would always show us that ring. We'd ask him, and he'd point that ring. And when he knew that we were Cowboy fans, if you were a Cowboy fan, you'd be like, "Could you show me the ring?" He'd put that ring in and show us. So we always took pride in having them, like Dwayne said, with the connection of Lombardi being from Jersey, Parcells,
Huh?
um, the
Like
Charlie
honestly, so
Weisses.
as a Cowboy fan, it was hard to root for Bill Parcells, right? When he was Giant coach, whatever. Respected him, hard to root for him. Man, when that man became a Dallas Cowboy coach, I was ecstatic, man.
Yeah.
And guess
And
what?
even
He's the
and
one that
even
turned it around for the Dallas Cowboys.
and even
You know?
now, a lot of people don't know, and me and Dwayne knows because when we talk every day, I actually live in the area of Pennsylvania that is the hometown. I don't live there, but I work there every day. I live in the town where Vic Fangio is from.
Mm,
I work in the town, so it's a lot of pride. One thing I will say about Pennsylvania, any state, football is natural. Football pride is natural. Everybody should take pride of having your local heroes. Literally, you guys, I grew up a Syracuse fan. We know Jerry McNamara just became the Syracuse coach. I
mm.
live 20 minutes from where Jerry McNamara's house was at. So we should always take pride of where we're from and be happy. And to get this book by the great Vince Lombardi, as Dwayne said, when pride still matters, pride that you know you're working hard for your the guy on the right of you and the guy on the left of you. And this is why we are guys that love
Listen, we
football.
love this, man. Listen, and I want people to be, I want to be careful, right? I love anybody that wants to talk about sports and stuff like that. I'm not knocking the Cowboy content creators. I think there's an abundance of them. I just highlight the three that I like. Um, doesn't mean that I always agree with them. I've gone back and forth with Sky, but I'll say this, man. Sky is always gracious. He always responds to me, no matter what I put on X. And I say this not for clout chasing because me and Q aren't clout chasers, but I respect those guys. So if Q were to tag them on this content, I would not have a problem with it because I believe in giving people flowers and acknowledging those who I feel do a good job, even when we don't agree. But I'm not going to be one of these. Can I get on my soapbox for a little bit, Q?
Go
And it's
ahead.
it's a little bit off subject, right? We have now right where we have African American men, athletes, journalists that are doing big things in the podcast world. Matt Barnes and Stacks with all the smoke. Stephen A is Stephen A. Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, Freddie T with the pivot, Cam and his 4th and 1 podcast, Acho, Shady, TJ Hushmazada, the other two guys that are on there with the Speakeasy, Marcellus Wiley. Um, there's another gentleman that I won't say his name because I can't stand him. I think everybody can get an idea. He's always in the midst of the controversy as well, right? But it seems like these gentlemen are all dope in their own right, but we've gotten away from debating sports, right? And we've made it personal. Every week, somebody's coming at Stephen A., and then Stephen A. got to come at them. Ryan Clark, always coming at somebody. I love Ryan Clark. Used to be a big Ryan Clark fan, not as much anymore, because it's like he'll put a take out there and then he'll apologize for it, but then go back down that same road later on down the line. And so I'm saying all that to say, fellas, let's keep it about sports and not so personal, because now every week there's somebody else having some type of beef online. Agree to disagree. Move on. Give us the sports, man. I don't want the messy. You all are doing a wonderful job. Great black men. And I'm not trying to make it a race bait situation, because I love Rich Eisen. I watch Pat McAfee, Boomer and Geo in the morning. But my favorite show in the morning is Shannon RJ on 105.3. So I listen to everyone. But it's just Patrick Beverly and Matt Barnes. Matt Barnes against Stephen A. Kwame against this one. Big Boy against the whole world. Marcellus Wiley has made his platform about breaking down what other people are talking about. He doesn't even talk sports anymore. He just goes to these shows and breaks down beefs on shows, you know? So let's just get back to the sports. Let's debate sports. And let's just stop with all this personal stuff, man. And I'm starting to see it a little bit in the cowboy content world, right? We're not going to all agree, but stop using other people to promote your platform by debating them. You know what I'm saying? We all do this, right? Everybody watch film. I may watch film a little bit differently than the next man. Doesn't make them right and me wrong, or vice versa. It's just all opinion, man. Let's have fun with it, right? It's what it's supposed to be. Sports is entertainment. Let's have fun with it. And I'm off my soapbox, Q. Thank you.
Well, there's nothing else I can add to that, man. I just say, man, great show. Uh, you know, sidebar, we're gonna have our draft show. We're gonna do our draft show the 2 days, definitely the 2 days, hopefully. And it's just so funny that the last couple years, um, family has been planning stuff on Dwayne during the draft show, and you guys, he goes through it.
Man, come on, stop it.
There are days that are precious to Dwayne, and it is NFL Sundays, and it's the draft. And everybody knows that. And like Dwayne said, as a young man, he brought up Mr. Z. And I know that this is not the show that we're gonna give everybody shout outs, but there's one former player who is a player,
Oh my God.
and this is why we love football so much, right? The NFL with their pregame shows used to do player spotlights, and they still do player spotlights where they interview a guy. But it was a player that played in the '90s, late 2000s,
Mhm.
right? He didn't play for the Dallas Cowboys. He played for Minnesota Vikings. And at the time, if I'm correct, Fox had the interview, and I
Mhm.
think it was Pam Oliver. Pam Oliver talked about this player, and she talked about his passion for following the draft. And he used to have notebooks. This is before the internet and you could spreadsheet. He had notebooks and notebooks of scouting and doing all the stuff on players, and he was still a player. And he's has a website. I've heard him on 105 a couple of times. The guys at night bring him on. I want to give a shout out to Corey Chavis,
Corey
man.
Davis,
Corey
man.
Chavis,
Played in NFL from
you
1998 to 2008.
Corey
And
Chavis, man, you don't realize what
man,
you did for these
you
two
are
men on this
the man.
on this on this screen, man.
You are the
To
man. And I'm
watch
telling you
a
something.
football
Letter
players,
Network, I'm sorry, Q. Letter Networks, all of you, y'all are missing the boat. There's no better draftnik than Corey Chavis.
I'm just leave it at that.
I stake my reputation on that. And like I said, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I did used to work in the industry, folks. I worked in the industry as a younger man. I decided to leave it because of the nature of it, the backstabbing that you have to do to get ahead. And I didn't want that to be a part of my story. So I decided to walk away from it. And it was the best decision of my life. But guess what? I got my boy since sixth grade, and he gives me the opportunity to come on here and talk. And we've been doing this since COVID. And hey, we may not have millions and millions of subscribers. We may not have hit yet. But I stake what we talk about and how we love our Cowboys and love the NFL as a whole. I stake that on everyone. And to my Eagle fans, man, holla at me. What's up with AJ Brown? Y'all just got another wide receiver. What's going on? Why y'all?
Yeah.
Why we can't get no more love for Jalen Hurts? Everybody jumped off the
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts train. What's
And,
going
and,
on?
and it's funny. It's funny, you guys, and shout out. I'm glad we didn't do a show, but Dwayne knows, man. We talk about this all the time, and I know a lot of people are finally giving this 2-time Super Bowl winning GM his flowers. But I have been a John Snyder fan since Mike Holmgren brought him to Seattle. He gets it. He drafts. He knows what he's doing. He is the only GM in NFL history to be a 2-time Super Bowl winning GM with the same team and a different quarterback. That lets you know how hard it is to win that chip. So when you give guys flowers, sometimes you got to be able to see it, as they say, before it happened. It's a lot of good, innovative young football minds floating around. Let's hope Christian Parker is one of them. And until next Thursday, when we come and chop it up with y'all during the draft, anybody that joins us, we appreciate you guys. We don't take any of our very small subscribers minimum. We just like to talk, and this is a phone conversation that just happened to be online. With that, take care, and we'll see you next time.